Boo.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Friday edition of Moohead Radio. I'm your host, a big and furry bovine. To get the record straight, I don't care who's starting and who's not starting, who's playing and who's not playing for the Cleveland Browns. I'm watching the game on NFL Network. I'm doing a halftime show and a post-game show. And today's show will explain why I want to do that, even though it's not in the best interest of my back, which doesn't like it when I do these things. But there's things that we need to know about the Cleveland Browns that eventually we will find out. Joining me today, we got a good group. We got Hammer Time, we got Dangly Balls, and we've got Derek Frisbee. Are you there, Derek?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. We can hear you. And we've got Brian. You there, Brian?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. So we're good. The gang's all here. Boy, we're just around the corner from the start of the preseason, and this game will probably be more of interest to the people who are Jacksonville fans than Cleveland fans, in the sense that, Trevor Lawrence is going to be able to get out onto the field. Urban Meyer has not made the formal announcement that he is going to be their starting quarterback for the year, so he's keeping fans in the mystery stage as far as knowing what in the hell's going on. And it'll be interesting because they're very new and working with new personnel. The Browns, on the other hand, are going to be playing virtually none of their starters, maybe none of their starters at all. And this will be a good indication to see how much better of a football team we are. We know what the top shelf guys can do. The problem was the drop off was so dramatic in the previous years. I mean, we had no depth. Now we're going to find out a little bit about our depth. There's good news and there's bad news, as there always is. And the injuries, there's just a ton of hamstrings. And I gotta tell you, they say that more this year than any other year all around the league. But I mean, stop and think for a minute. You've gotten it down to the point where there's maybe one meaningful post or preseason game. And honestly, I think a lot of teams are not going to play starters at all. I think week one in the NFL could be one of the worst and bizarre first weeks of a season in the history of the NFL, because teams are only going to be having gone through their reps in practice and not against live competition. And I think that the injury bug is big for a number of reasons, but I can't help but think that they always happen, the soft tissue injuries, because football players, in my estimation, because of the danger of the sport, take time off when they're not playing the sport. And, then the sudden demands of cuts and fast movements result in soft tissue injuries.
The exception being the ones that are rehabbing.
Yeah,
they had surgery and are rehabbing. Yeah. They have to keep going regardless, so in order to get back into shape now. I mean, OBJ for one.
Well,
he had no off season.
We've got a bunch of people who right now are in no condition to be able to go out on the field and play at top speed. But again, this is the beauty. This is a situation that we've never really been in, gosh, since I've been doing the podcast, which is we have good talent and we are assured of having good first unit and even some very solid backup players. And I'm not worried about the team not playing these guys. And then when the horrible injuries happen in meaningless preseason games, then you really get on the coaching staff, the front office. Like, why are you playing these guys? I think for the Cleveland Browns, fans should just chill and say, we're going to be in like the rest of the league. And I don't think, if you were the Kansas City Chiefs, our week one opponent, would you be playing Patrick Mahomes in meaningless preseason games, which have been basically a preseason that's been halfway aborted so they can add an additional regular season game. And you know damn well you're going to need all the players you can get to make it through a 17-game season.
Well, the other problem that's the elephant in the room is that the weather is just like, fucking who wants to play preseason games in 95-degree fucking heat, man?
Yep.
No, nobody even wants to go outside in that heat. So I think at some point might see the NFL season shifting forward, like having preseason in September and having to play Super Bowl mid-February or something. Well,
for the Browns, I mean, MJ Stewart, who played last year as a cornerback, now granted, it's going to be a harder thing for him to make the depth chart this year, but he's been questionable. He was questionable for the start of training camp, and he's got a hamstring, and it's been no-go for him.
I think it's a lot of it is the soft tissue is like, being cramped and, not having enough fluid in you. And
it's a whole series. It's a series of things. Montrell Meander, who, another guy with a hamstring. And again, these two guys, it's like, so what? But we've got Njoku with a shoulder, and we've got Myles Garrett with a hamstring. And it's like, we don't need that shit. We've got Malik McDowell, who's trying to make a team, a bad boy in the NFL, who's been a chronic misbehavior. He's got rib injury, and he has not done shit and played shit since training camp. It looks like Denzel Ward is okay. And the really good news was that Anthony Walker will be returning. And I think that's really important to this football team. And we were questioning what the injury might have been. I speculated it may have been an MCL sprain. Now we know it can't have been that. But when the coaching staff says 1+ weeks, you just don't know. And they don't announce
it could have been even the dreaded high ankle sprain.
No, it was a knee. They said that it was a knee, and when they say 1+ weeks, and who knows what the hell it is. And this game is important for a couple of reasons, and it's not just that we're fans and we're happy that football season is back, so we're going to watch it. But there are some people who are in serious jeopardy of not making this football team and find themselves in a kind of awkward position. And, Demetric Felton is one of them. And we've talked about Demetric Felton. I thought he was going to be a bigger part of this thing, but now I'm getting worried that he's just not functional as a running back, that he's getting all of his reps at wide receiver, which is where we would need a little guy like that the least. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, if JoJo Natson makes the team as a special teams guy and and kickoff returner, he also can come out of the backfield as a little guy and run the end arounds and all that. Demetric Felton getting all of his reps at wide receiver, what we're finding out is that he just doesn't read the offensive line particularly well.
Yeah.
And as a running back, and that D'Ernest Johnson is far superior as a runner. And in this Browns offense, you gotta be a runner, because I'm not going to say it's 100% run first, but it is a physical domination kind of game with a big offensive line. And if one of your two primary running backs goes down for a period of time, you need a guy who can come in and run from the line of scrimmage. So, I think that Demetric Felton is right now odd man out. And the Browns are already 6 deep in the wide receiver position, and they don't need another guy. It's just, and he's a 4th string running back to start out. All rookies are at the bottom of the depth chart. So he's going to have to play his ass off and prove some things in order to even stick on this roster. Another guy that they were praising last year, although or 2 years ago, I should say, was Drew Forbes. The guy, what is he, out of
Oh, God.
Southwest Missouri? Is that where this kid played his college
He's
football?
still alive.
As an offensive lineman, that he was very, very,
Wasn't he from like Nevada State or something? Or
yeah,
That was Corbett.
Yeah, I'm not
Oh,
sure.
somebody was.
Where was Forbes from, Derek?
Oh, I don't know. I don't remember.
Southeast
It was
Missouri
either-
State.
Southeast Missouri. Yeah, I knew it was.
Yeah, I
I
just
said
Googled
Southwest
it,
Missouri.
yeah.
What's the difference when you're in Missouri, right?
How about Northwest Missouri State? They're both
Yeah,
Southwest.
The
exactly.
mighty Redhawks.
Oh my God! They
Look at
said
that
that he
picture,
was
man.
quick, athletic. That he, but once they saw him he opted out of 2020. He comes into camp and he looks positively slow because he's suddenly playing against faster players in 2021 on the front line and on against head-to-head against defensive linemen, and he looks real slow. And the fact is that he's a good athlete, and they've talked about, whether we'll have the money to re-sign Wyatt Teller or Jack Conklin, or whether he'll be the heir apparent for Joel Bitonio or any of these things. Right now, Forbes isn't even getting snaps much with the second team, let alone anything else. And they have a ton of offensive linemen. We just mentioned Malik McDowell, whose chances of making this team are going down the shitter because he is sitting with a bucket hat on, watching, from the sidelines, because he's had various injuries during this preseason and training camp. He's a fourth string defensive tackle currently, which really bodes badly for him. And he's not going to be able to do anything tomorrow because he's in no condition to play. So, there's more. I mean, we looked at Nick Harris last year as the backup center, and he was drafted to be the heir apparent of J.C. Treader. But he saw the field as a guard last year, if you remember, when they had to move the offensive
he had to fill
line.
he had to fill in at guard because he was the next offensive lineman up.
And one of the things that was a problem as a guard, his lack of size and what they call the anchor, or how solidified he is to keep his balance and his feet. They were lacking, and he's better off as a center, as a guard, than a guard. But the fact that he moves so well, isn't the thing in and of itself. Michael Dunn, who played well at guard against the Steelers in the playoffs, has been getting reps. When Treader isn't in there, the snaps have been divided between Harris and Michael Dunn. All right. So Harris was a 5th round pick and Dunn an undrafted free agent. You can do the math there. It's interesting. But Nick Harris is going to have to prove that he has versatility on the field. Cody Parkey is another guy. If he comes out here and he starts sucking the big moose, hey, how you doing? I hear I was mentioned here. The Cody Parkey that we've seen is bipolar. He will make so many in a row, and then all of a
hit the
sudden,
poles a few times.
yeah, and then all of a sudden, I mean, it's like he'll make field goals, but he'll miss extra points, and you just don't understand, and his, of course, playoff history. To say that it's tarnished from his time in Chicago would be an understatement.
We all make mistakes.
Yeah, right. Yeah. He forgave himself, but there ain't a single fan who's going to forgive him if he does it again.
It's fucking Chicago fans. So they deserve to be shit on for a great hike all the time.
The interesting thing is he's made 22 of 28 career attempts.
Indians closer territory there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's the 6-year remember. Chase McLaughlin has been beating Parkey consistently in field goal accuracy and kicking contests, and of course has the stronger leg. One of the complaints I've had about Parkey is that he is not solid from outside 45 at all, and
on kickoffs.
And on kickoffs, right? There's way too many returns that can end up hurting you. McLaughlin is 4 or 5 from beyond 50 yards in his limited career.
Well, it was almost like I was watching that thing last weekend at the stadium with the orange and brown bullocks, shit, whatever they called it. And they were showing McLaughlin making kicks, but they were showing Parkey like, off to the left or the right, but the camera angle was tight in on these guys. It wasn't like showing the whole field, so they were trying to like hide the plays from the camera, but you could tell that the kicks were shit.
But we've done this before. We've gone in there and brought in a new guy, and then when you actually got him in a game, then he was horseshit. Right, but he was, but but then in the preseason or in camp they looked really good. But when actual people are rushing them, all of a sudden,
there are fans in the stands, and there's noise, and there's
and you're gonna this year the Browns are not going to play in front of quiet. There's going to be crowds. There's going to be crowds in this. Barring another, COVID type issues, there's going to people are going to fill a stadium in Cleveland. They're going to fill the stadiums on the road. It's not going to be
some of the
same
stadiums.
Old Browns. Well, I mean, but I would think, Brian, I think
Houston will be a pretty quiet fucking stadium.
But I think that's a place that we could go to a game if we want to make a road trip because we can easily get a ticket. So that's they used to talk about Arizona when the Cowboys used to have 8 home games plus every time they played Arizona. It was like an extra home game.
I was at the stadium. I was at Sun Devil Stadium. Yes, it was just as bad when the fucking 49ers came to town. It was 80% filled with 49er fucking fans.
Yeah.
Even in the Scottsdale Loge section.
The proviso that you just gave, COVID is going to be a factor. And I'm not saying that because I want it to be. It just is. I mean, we're getting crushed in Florida. And, it's interesting. I just wanted to throw just a factoid out here because I think because we're all scattered, Bronx in a different country, for God's sakes. And
we had a shooting last night, so we're getting hip with you guys.
Yeah, I mean, in Florida, we have more COVID cases than all of the 30 states with the lowest case rates combined. Now, get this. Florida and Texas alone have accounted for 40% of new hospitalizations across the country. I mean, it's really crazy. Of all COVID-19 hospitalizations, 8 states make up 51%. Those states are Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia. Think college football, folks. Louisiana, Mississippi, Nevada, and Texas. All of these places are being ravaged right now. Our ICUs are filling up in Florida. And we know from experience the way people move around and travel and go back and forth and this and that. People are going to be, coming back from the north to here. And, but the kids are going to be going to school. It's going to be a whole series of things. And I can guarantee you, 60,000 people who want to see a football game, it's only a matter of a couple of weeks before this is going to become a major, major story. I don't mean to burst any bubbles because I want to see football just as much as you all do. But at any rate, another guy to look for in tomorrow's game is an undrafted free agent named Marvin Wilson. And they paid him more money than they... Marvin. Yeah. Are you gonna play? Or will they cut you? Anyway.
Isn't he like Flip Wilson's nephew or something?
Yeah. He was the highest paid undrafted free agent in NFL history. The Browns were so high on him. but he's
Well, we
behind
want a-
Sheldon Day and Tommy Togiai in the depth chart.
Well, we won a
Uh,
bidding war for him. I mean, that was the
Yeah.
thing. There were multiple teams that wanted to pay him big bucks as well. So
That's right. And so I can guarantee you that if Marvin doesn't make it with the Browns, somebody else will take him. But the fact is that he's already behind Sheldon Day and Tommy Togiai, which I think is interesting for a guy that they shelled out coin for as a UDFA. Tony Fields is another one, not the comedian from the 60s. That was Toty Fields. Tony Fields II. This is really, really, now you know, right here in our show. Toty.
Also, not to be confused with Tootie.
Yeah, exactly. There's
There's your
bringing
Field
out Toady Fields is really aging this show right now. You realize that?
Yeah, of course it is. I mean, I expect people to go look it up. The woman was a Jewish Catskills comedian who ended up having one of her legs amputated, and she wasn't very funny after that. So, kind of ruins the stand-up act.
She did.
She was right up there with Five-ish Finkel.
Oh, thank you.
Ruin
It's
this
just cruel.
thing.
I just like being cruel.
Don't forget to tip your waitress, right?
Yeah. Now,
Damn.
I mean, and Tony Fields II is not expected to be back anytime soon. So this guy could really be a problem. And it makes a difference for somebody like Mac Wilson, who's also fighting for his life, who's
He's
another
also
guy.
related to Flip Wilson too.
Right, and I honestly believe that Mac
Here comes the
Wilson's
judge.
going to need a prayer to make this team with everything that's gone on with him. He's going to have to look a hell of a lot better. And
You would think Taki would be kind of at that border as well, right?
No, what I'm hearing from people I'm talking to is that Taki looks like he has really improved. He's
Oh my
taking,
God.
Yeah, he's actually getting good grades on the fucking camp.
Yep, he's taking.
Well, I mean,
good
obviously
lines.
he had something to prove, and that's kind of what. That's really.
And
like,
Mac
this is
Wilson
kinda
has
what you-
actually been getting positive notice.
Well,
from the
that's. I
coaching
mean, but
staff, too.
that's what we're going to get to see is these guys, right?
Yeah, that's who
That's-
you're going to see. I mean, a guy like Taki, they say that he's really attacking the play and taking better angles on players. And his greatest thing is that he was a hard hitter. He's an aggressive player and a hard hitter. His weakness, of course, is that, he couldn't cover anybody out of the backfield.
Yeah, he
And-
sucks basically. That's his
But Mac Wilson.
Well, he did. He still had a fucking pick six, so
He had a pick
Yeah.
six, and he had a pick in that playoff game. Yeah,
He did.
Well, the pick six, if you watch that play again, for God's
so
sakes.
so did Porter Gustafson or whatever the heck.
Yeah.
Dustin.
Everybody's- you get a pick six. You get a pick six. You get a pick six.
Now, Mac Wilson is a guy who really had a history coming out of college as being a real good East-West guy, but was terrible covering people when he was supposed to be better at that, and he was taking bad angles on tackles as well. And then the question comes out that we're not going to find out about now is what is the status of Jedrick Wills in his second year. I'm hearing from some sources at Berea that he has improved, he's much better, but that constantly being put in front of Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney, that he is early in camp suffered some defeats, shall we say.
Well, but yeah, I mean, think about what that's kind of the situation here. All right, we've improved the defensive line. Myles Garrett is probably the second best defensive lineman in football right now, behind what's his name out in California. I mean, it just. I mean, and he's been consistently good. You bring in another guy like Clowney, which takes away some of those double teams. Dear God, I mean,
Well-
it's just
And it's
It-
not
it's-
just Jedrick Wills who's been reportedly struggling in camp. It's also Jack Conklin. And we know Jack's a great tackle. So it's not like, Wills is the only one struggling here. So these guys, I mean, when you're constantly going against this level of talent, you literally cannot maintain, like, how good you are.
Take plays off. Can't take plays off. That's what it comes down to. And you got to be in good physical condition, because these guys are going to keep hammering at you. And, again, he had great success last year, and I think he was a much better run blocker than a pass blocker, which is important to the Browns. We'll see. It's not that he's in any jeopardy. Of course, he's going to make the roster, and of course, he's your starting left tackle. But
but keep in mind, in college, he was a right tackle.
Yeah.
We did switch him. We forget all about that after that tremendous season he had last year.
Well, this is a step-up season for him. It absolutely is. This is to show whether he takes that next step. And, he's finding out early that it ain't going to be so easy when you're playing against guys like that.
Well, and now it's really the muscle memory thing is kicking in, because now it's becoming natural to him. So now once that gets down, he can, evolve to that next level and step into his full potential the Browns are hoping him to. And with, not having the offseason last year, normal, he's got more access to Bill Callahan. And that's big. Everybody wants to talk about James Hudson and getting this one-on-one work. Same thing with Jedrick Wills. He's now had a full year under his belt at left tackle, full year in the playbook, and now he's got more time to get the technical stuff down in camp.
Now, a guy like Koromoa, he has been so limited. He's not been able to do anything. He's going to be hitting the field, and you got to be careful because he wants to play a lot of snaps to show what he can do, but his body probably is simply not ready for that. But he's going to be out on the field, and we're going to get an idea right off the bat of how he and I mean literally sizes up in his position, and how the Browns really are going to look at using this kid who had such a big history of being a big hitter at Notre Dame, and whether, it kind of reminds you of weight classes in boxing. A guy like Bob Foster, and now I'm really dating myself, who was the light heavyweight champion of the world for God knows how long. I want to say 1968 through 1972. Maybe, and he destroyed every light heavyweight on the planet. So he actually fought Joe Frazier and got knocked out. He fought Muhammad Ali, cut Muhammad Ali, but got knocked out. There was not a light heavyweight at the time that could beat him, but when he moved up in weight, he just looked like a smaller man, and he was pushed around. And we're going to find that out about Koromoa. And I have no input on this because I haven't seen anything on him at this level, but we're going to see it tomorrow. And, he wants to play a lot. I think that they're going to give him some spot duty here. I think they're going to let him hit the field. But I don't think they're going to, he's a top pick. They're not going to let him burn himself out so early in a preseason. And if you didn't hear it, you're living in a cave. Stefanski's already said the majority of starters, are going to be sat down. And I think this is going to be for the entire preseason. Case Keenum will start at quarterback. Baker Mayfield's not going to hit the field. Kyle Laletta will also get time. So
maybe as a backup linebacker.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Wearing number 35 again.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle Laletta is, going to get an opportunity to hit the field as well. You can't
probably in the second half.
Yeah, you can't afford to lose anybody. And Case Keenum, even though he's not the greatest backup quarterback in the world, is better than Kyle Laletta. So, the thing that Stefanski's saying is that while Keenum has a lot of experience, he didn't play at all really last year. He's got to get back out into the swing of things and get the timing of this offense down. And they're going to play Keenum enough that he's going to, depending on, if it's a lot of in and out offense, defense swaps, he'll get several possessions. If there are longer drives and things of that nature, they probably have a preset thing to say, okay, you're going to do 4 possessions. That's what you're going to do. And, after that, Laletta, and whatever comes first, the 4 possessions or the half, that's the end. We're not going to see any more of Case Keenum. All the healthy rookies, that would mean Greg Newsome, second rounder Koromoa, are expected to play and make debuts because Newsome, being a rookie, is behind the depth chart and to Greedy Williams, believe it or not. But
Wow.
Greedy Williams is going to play, and Chris Hubbard is also expected to play. So this is the start of the real the uphill struggle for Greedy Williams to try to remain to show the Browns that he can be a real player without getting hurt. And
Yeah, he
he's
desperately needs to have a good preseason because all these clips, Donovan Peoples-Jones has, really stolen the show at camp, but for the most part, all these clips are on Greedy.
Yeah.
And he's, it's concerning because I really think a lot of it is mental with the shoulder and stuff. So, I think this is really his opportunity, not even just for the start or that starting cornerback job opposite of Denzel. Greg Newsome is way ahead of Greedy right now, in my opinion, based on what I've saw. And for him to get playing time in general this year, he's going to have to prove, yes, obviously staying healthy, but also that he's not going to get burned because he's been getting burned consistently.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is that when he was healthy, Greedy Williams was nothing great in coverage. He was giving way too much of a cushion. And I expected more, but once again, and people who listen to this program know that we try as best as we can to analyze the picks and the rap on Greedy Williams. And this was a big thing going back with Derek and I. You were very, very gung-ho in a first-round situation. I was convinced he was going to drop to the second. And the reason was not injury, but the reason was they said he just wasn't an aggressive, hard-hitting tackler. And that he was more of a ball hawk and a center fielder than he was a guy who was going to really shake things up with physicality.
Well, and I also I think a lot with Greedy, and this is what I'm kind of paying attention to with Joe Woods this year, is Greedy's first year as a starter, if you want to say he started. I know he didn't play a whole lot, but he was playing a lot of zone, and he is not a zone corner. And yes, that is a knock on him, but I'd be interested to see if they played him more in a specific man outside role, which is what he was best at in college, and that's why he had all the hype, and that's why I loved him, is because that's what he was so good at, and that's what I was hoping we'd get. But in the system we ran under, I'm blanking on his name, but it was a lot of zone. So Joe Woods runs zone a lot too. No, not Greg Williams.
We've got so many idiots.
I know, but I'm interested to see if they use him better, I guess is what I'm trying to say here.
Well, and you also have the whole depth thing in general. I mean, we're talking about defensive backs who, Ward has had issues staying on the field. Obviously Williams was out for the whole season and all. Delpit Delpit as a safety trying to come back. I mean, it's just there's a bunch of guys where we're just we're it never hurts to have those people, but then again, it's who can stay healthy. I mean, look at what we had there in the backfield in the defensive backfield last year to get through the season. Some of these guys either aren't in the league or they're with the Texans now, which is basically the same thing. So, it's one of those kind of things.
Well, and also Troy Hill can play outside too. So it's not
Yeah.
like he's just limited to playing slot, even though he was the best slot corner last year. If they need to in a situation, they can move him outside.
I mean, look at what they shuffled around last year in order to make things happen. And I mean, it wasn't a great defense overall, but it was adequate enough when you had an offense that did what it did. So
Now, one thing that I look at the tight end position, it would appear that Baker Mayfield is starting to really get on more of a page with Austin Hooper. But, and you're also hearing stories of Njoku being, doing a credible job of catching passes in the red zone. But I think Harrison Bryant is a sleeper. And I believe that he is bigger. He's gained muscle mass coming out of into his second year. It has not affected his speed, but I think he realizes what he needs to be in order to get more playing time. And I just can't see the Cleveland Browns continuing to carry. I mean, we've got 4 tight ends as it sits right now, with Carlson being the 4th. I can't imagine carrying that many people when Njoku has notoriously bad hands, which is something that I've never seen get repaired in a player.
He's also super fucking fragile too.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen a guy with bad hands suddenly get good hands.
But but being that
Maybe he got all
freak, I was gonna say, being that physical freak though, that can match up almost as like a wide receiver. He's that kind of guy that just teases you as a coach, and you look at him, you're going, God, he should be good. Kind of like a quarterback from Oklahoma State, but no, he doesn't end up that way. It's just, he does makes 3 or 4 plays that are fantastic. And the next thing you see is, he's out with an injury for 3 weeks.
Well, and another, sorry.
Go ahead, Derek.
I was just going to say real quick, and another thing is with Austin Hooper, the Browns are paying him $10.5 million per year on that 4-year contract he signed in when did he sign? A year ago, 2020. So if Harrison Bryant comes on, like I think we all believe he will, there's just no sense in paying that $10 million to Austin Hooper if he's not going to play a huge role, which I don't think he is anymore, or at least not what we hoped. And guys got to get paid, so that $10 million can go, somewhere more valuable.
Right, and Best Impact is talking about Delpit, and I want to point out that everyone, by all accounts, Delpit seemed recovered from the ACL. He appeared to be in good shape and was doing well, and it's a hamstring. It is a soft tissue injury, but whenever you have any leg injury after having ACL surgery, people will wonder, A, is there a muscular weakness in the leg? And is the hamstring in the leg that was operated on? Is this compensatory? If it's in the opposite leg, is this something that is contributing?
I thought he tore his Achilles.
Yeah, it was Achilles.
Yeah, I'm sorry, the Achilles. Yeah. I mean, and again, anything
I'm like,
that is.
did he get a knee surgery in college? No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, Delpit is a guy that the Browns were hoping.
Here, man.
The Browns were hoping, but I don't know. Each week that goes
Just
by,
like when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor.
Yeah,
he
exactly.
falls further and further behind. Best Impact is also saying, and I know what the numbers say. I know what my eyes see also. I did not feel that Greedy was at all greedy when it came to getting the ball in his hands. And I saw him as being timid as a rookie. And then I saw him get hurt. I saw him not be able to come back from the injury he sustained. And he is clearly being outperformed by the rookie who's pressing him for his job. That's what's happening in camp. So, he has to come out large. He really does. And, you know, because they didn't draft him as high as they drafted him, Greedy Williams, to be a guy who just kind of sits around and doesn't get much of an opportunity to play. And if he's not reliable when it comes to health, that becomes even a bigger singular problem for that player.
Hey, Moon,
So-
can I jump
Yeah.
in here on the
Sure.
whole Delpit thing? I think you know, the one thing Best Impact said there was, you know, the Browns made a mistake by drafting him. I don't think that's fair to say yet. You know, if this continues, which, you know, one thing you said, I believe in your last program, was this stuff tends to become a trend. And you're right. We've seen that, you know, in the past in the NFL. But I think from a talent standpoint, to say that that was a mistake, that guy was the Jim Thorpe Award winner. Okay, he was the best safety or the best DB in the NFL or in college football. So to say that he's, you know, it was a mistake and like he's not talented,
No.
yeah. And Antoine Winfield is a heck of a player. He was incredible this year. But who's to say that if Grant Delpit, you know, is on the field for the Browns, who's to say that he wasn't incredible? It's just you got to wait and see first.
But the
would be what I
history of that injury, of the Achilles injury, is that league-wide, 26% of the players who sustain that injury do not end up having a professional NFL career. They never recover. 26%. And that's a large percentage. So, you know, I'm not trying to bum anybody out, and I'm not blaming the front office for selecting him. Anyone. I mean, I've told the story a gazillion times. I played a tennis match against a guy who just, you know, I hit the ball behind him. He was running for the corner, and that, you know, he kind of anticipated I was going to hit a cross court, and instead I hit it behind him. He stopped to go back to it, and he tore his Achilles tendon. And he had no leg problems up to that point in his life, and he was a player who used his speed to hurt people. And just like that, bang, it went. It can happen. And it doesn't mean that he's got bad luck following him wherever he goes. But what it does mean is once you have that injury, there is that percentage failure rate. And I think the failure rate comes from, you know, the body is a fine-tuned machine. And when you know, it's just like having a knee replacement or having anything else. And I've experienced this. I can't move on a tennis court naturally the way I did. I can't really do split steps and side to side because, you know, there is no real, it's not really a three-dimensional artificial joint. It's two-dimensional. It goes, there's none of this. There's none of this in knee replacements. So even a natural thing like when you, you know, repair an ACL, which is a slow recovery, the real question is how you build up strength in the muscles surrounding it, and how naturally are you moving? Does it affect your gait? And then what does that do to other muscles and other parts of the leg? So we don't have answers to these things, but Delpit has to get on the field. If he doesn't get on the field, do I think they're going to just dump him? I don't think they're going to dump him, but I think that he is one, you know, major injury away from just calling it quits, because if he's part of that 26%, it doesn't matter how young you are, how strong you are. I mean, that's a devastating injury because there's just literally so much plant and cut, and you're playing against such faster players than he was playing against in college. So,
Well, and there's a reason why they go out and sign John Johnson. They're not going to take the risk with Delpit because they had such a big role carved out for him last year. And if he's not on the field again, they're not going to have, you know, another Andrew Sandejo back there. The Super Bowl window, you know, is, you know, we can argue, but it's, you know, in the next couple years or so would be about your window, and you're not going to waste a year on a guy who is a rookie, you know, with injury problems. So that's why they go out and sign a John Johnson.
yeah, you know, Rox, I was wondering why, you know, why is Woggy Dogger behind me? But there he is, and yeah, it's raining down here. We're we're getting the beginning effects of another tropical storm coming through Florida. So it's raining a lot down here, and it's right now we're at the off and on stage, but it's creeping its way up the west coast of Florida and the Gulf, and we're going to be feeling this for the next 2 days. So
all I gotta say is Derek said something very interesting there. He said this phrase. It said Super Bowl window. And he was talking about the Browns. Let's just cherish how wonderful that is. Give me the white marshmallow of hope and say Super Bowl window again, Derek.
The Browns have a Super Bowl window. It is real.
yeah, and no, and
White
I agree,
marshmallow of
but
hope. We need it.
it takes a hell of a lot of luck. I think the Cavaliers could have won more than one championship. We couldn't
Correct.
stay healthy at playoff time. We, you know,
But
the
they had help
Celtics
from the
intentionally
Celtics.
injured Kevin Love, you
Yeah.
know, and I'll never forgive Kelly Olynyk for what he did, fucking prick, and you know, and then Kyrie, who's just turned out to be
Yeah.
less than reliable, and the Nets are finding that out right now.
Well, basically, we were a one-man team in that series, and we had Delhi end up in the hospital on fluids. So it was just awful.
I'll answer your question, Bronk. I had 2 hearing tests, and what they've determined is that the right ear is about 12% diminished from the left ear, which puts me right on the borderline of getting one hearing aid, and that would be in the right ear. So that's where I'm at right now.
Wow.
And there's no doubt that the tennis ball, the collision created cochlear damage. And it's not just, I already had a hearing problem in my right ear because of my wayward days as
Yeah.
a disc jockey when I was a kid.
Doing all that.
Yeah, doing a lot
On
of
the ones
stuff
and the
with these
twos, huh?
types of, these types of headphones.
Oh, it's more like this, actually.
Yeah, that doesn't really do an ear a lot of good. But the tennis ball collision was a cochlear issue that is causing like distortion in my ears, and
Oh,
that's
that's
gotten
not
a
good.
little bit better since the accident, and which is good news. But yeah, I'll likely be ending up with a hearing aid in my right ear sooner as opposed to later. Hey, Mark Ross, how you doing?
See, well, you have to have an audiologist like I do, who basically said that I was losing sort of some of my high end hearing, and that I had trouble hearing female voices. So I now have a legitimate excuse
Exactly.
not to hear the wife.
It's perfect, isn't it?
I know Hammer's wife, and I gets a double thumbs up. Is she there? I'm scared.
The problem is, what if your wife sounds like Hammer Time? Hey, Hammer Time. Hey, let me say this about that.
Hey, baby. Hey.
If your wife sounds like Barry White, you got all kinds of problems, you know.
Dr.
Hey,
Girlfriend.
baby. Enough of this.
All right,
I
so
better get this back to where it
what's
was.
our
Ernest
Peter
Ainsley.
Alice? What's our Peter
Yeah,
Alice? moment?
420. Yeah, Amsterdam's definitely got that right. We need a little Ernest Ainsley to get those evil spirits to come.
Cast
Ow!
evil spirits here at the Grace Cathedral, the most beautiful cathedral in the world. Oh my God, make that stop. I mean, I'm scarred.
Say baby.
Baby.
Baby. Say
Baby.
I love Jesus. I
Okay.
No, you know what was the best one? The best one that I saw, was he was going, I love Jesus. And the person who couldn't hear say, cheddar. I like cheddar the best. You know, so, yeah, it's just kind of, could have made a real comedy show out of the Grace Cathedral. Man,
But it was a comedy show. What are you talking about?
I guess you're right. Yeah. And his
Some
hairpiece.
of us used to watch it. Oh my goodness.
His
Where he
hairpiece was
got
the
that rat
best.
from, I have no idea. It was like
It was all part of the act, you know?
he borrowed it from Howard Cosell. So
The other one I didn't understand was
Cosell.
Rex Humbard at the end. Oh, Rex Humbard. We are free to love each other. And it's like, whoa!
Yeah.
Whoa, yeah. You know, it's like, I don't want to be in a pile with Rex Humbard. Jeez.
They still have that tower there, don't they? He tried to build that tower or whatever. And
Yeah.
it's going to be a tourist attraction. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
They took our jobs.
oh, I am so psyched. Getting to see the backups is going to be fun. You know,
Hell yeah.
it's
Super Bowl
but
window.
and think about it. It's going to be an organized practice. You know how Urban Meyer is. You know, Urban's not going to. You know, he is the master of not. He's like from the Jim Tressel school of not showing anything. And they're going to go out there and they're going to run bread and butter plays just to see who can do what. And you know and so the Browns are going to be doing the same thing, and it's just going to be an organized practice. It's going to go on for a while, and then somebody's going to get overly excited because some third string guy is going to make a play or whatever, who's going to be selling insurance in 3 weeks, and somebody's going to be like, "Oh, this is the next second coming." It's like, but we're all going to feel that way because that's how we are. But at least this time, it's the third string guy doesn't really have a chance of making the team at all. And in the past, they might be a starter in 3 weeks. So,
And for new,
BB King sang the song "The Thrill Is Gone," and the Steelers fill their need at linebacker getting Joe Schobert. And it's like, it's like, you know, I just have this image in my mind of Nick Chubb or Kareem Hunt running directly at Joe Schobert, and then
Dragging Joe
yards
Schobert
after
7 yards down
contact.
Yeah, dragging Joe Schobert
Yeah.
7 yards down the fucking field.
Oh.
they
I would love to
YouTube
see Joe Schobert try to tackle Jim Brown. You know, no, I mean today. I don't mean 60 years
Josh
ago.
Brown, wow.
YouTube has posted the NFL Films video of the Browns season from last year.
Really?
And there's a scene. Yeah, you'll have to look it up, or I'll send everybody a link or whatever. But yeah, there's a scene in there where Chubb is basically running down and stiff arms this Philadelphia Eagle like right into the ground. It was just like
that was that dirty fucker. 59.
Yeah, Brian.
Yeah.
It was beautiful thing. I mean, I sat there with a smile on my face and tears in my eyes the entire way watching this thing. Even when they lost a couple games, the thing. But it was just like I'm just looking through this. I'm like going, damn, we had a good. It's like just let the wheels not fall off. Let people try to stay healthy. And last year how they were able to do stuff with the defense with smoke and mirrors, and
But I got to give that guy credit. He did get up and run all the way down the field. And when Chubb was trying to get around the two defensive backs, he tackled him from behind.
Yeah,
He did, yeah.
I mean, he was a heck of a player. It just was. It looked
He
like
was a dirty
man
fuck
among.
that day, though.
It looked like a man among boys, though, when Chubb ran through there. It was just like that guy. Just that's the one thing about Chubb. I realize they just signed him to the extension, but I wonder how long he goes. That extension may be the end of his career. The way that he runs the football, that 3 years might just be. But who knows? Maybe he'll go on for a lot more.
The thing is, guys like that love to get the football a lot. And the more that and the style of running, it's like Earl Campbell. Earl Campbell was the most, dominating running back because you'd give him the ball 25 to 30 times in a game and he would just go through people. But it also, 6 years and he was like toast from the contact. And that, you got to be careful about that.
And he played all those goddamn games on AstroTurf. He played them at not only the games in Houston, but the games in Pittsburgh, the games in fucking Cincinnati.
Yeah.
When
they would play wherever they would play with turf, or it just destroyed his fucking turf. Knees.
Yeah, Brian, it was that terrible stuff. Oh, that thing
40 years
oh
ago.
my god.
Hey
Bronk, we were on that stuff before. It was
we played on that turf.
Part 2. Oh, the thrill is gone. Dwayne Haskins edges Mason Rudolph in round 2 of Steelers backup quarterback drama. And this should make everybody feel so much better. Dwayne Haskins started out being, well, Dwayne Haskins. He ended up, completing 16 of 22 attempts for 161 yards, which is good. But when he was playing against the first string, it wasn't so good. He was back to averaging 5 yards per completion. Mason Rudolph came into the game and nothing. I mean, they're picking between these two guys. I'm feeling real good between Schobert, Haskins, and Rudolph.
One of my friends.
Can they sign them all to like 15-year contracts and make them play into their 40s?
I was going to say an acquaintance of mine. I shouldn't say one of my friends, but an acquaintance of mine, because you guys will give me a hard time, who happens to be a Stiller fan, and they were talking about. I have
friends. You have acquaintances.
There you go. And they were talking about they hope that Roethlisberger would go ahead and retire. We're like, no, please stay, stay another 5 years. Yeah, it's like.
I mean, but what's really funny is, so Rudolph comes into the game, right? Because he didn't start. Haskins started. So, good old Mason comes into the game. And with Mason comes the second unit offensive line. And the first thing that happened is there were a series of holding penalties and a sack. It's like nobody's going to look good behind the Steelers' second string offensive line. If any of their people on their front line who aren't as good as they were in the past get hurt, God only knows what's deeper than that. And so Rudolph couldn't get it going at all because he couldn't, they can't protect him. Basically, Haskins had 43 yards on 6 completions. So I'm sorry, it was 7 yards of completion. But, that's the stuff that has been, and the thing that's been dogging him. He can actually get the ball down the field, but then all of a sudden the turnovers start. And this has been his story. And also, catching COVID and by going to strip clubs, it doesn't endear you to management in Pittsburgh. So,
or getting beat up by a strange wife or whatever.
Yeah, all of that stuff. Two things I wanted to point out. How do you like this for a headline that appeared on ESPN? The end of tanking? ? How to make every Major League Baseball team try to win every year.
Oh my God.
Now just listen to this. As a full schedule of games begins Friday, half the teams playing are essentially out of contention. But what if an August game between the Cleveland Indians and Detroit Tigers had meaning? Well, talking about total irrelevance.
It did, 1984.
Yeah, look. The Indians losing 17-0 after playing and managing to lose to the A's the 2 previous games by having a late lead and watching the bullpen come in and suck big dick, and then just giving up on a 17-0 loss where 10 walks were issued by Indians pitchers, and my favorite guy of all, oh God, Eli Morgan. I don't want to see it anymore. He makes Josh Tomlin look credible. Just terrible. We've got pitchers out there. They're gopher ball kings. You take a look at these guys and they give up so many long balls because they're not able to locate their pitches. They hang sliders, hang changeups. Eli Morgan is just like Josh Tomlin was, constantly giving up dingers. And now we got guys coming in who are, like Stephan, the relief pitcher, just grooving fastballs, and it's just being drilled out of the stadium. Really an embarrassment. The Indians are an embarrassment to Cleveland, and it's that any article would again be, now it's tanking. Before it was tanking in the NBA for the draft. Now it's tanking in baseball. It'll just show you how like 50% of the fans in baseball are just being short shrifted, but with a real inferior product. And, and then when you do come out, who wants to pay to see Little League players? I mean, if I see Ahmed Rosario throw the ball away to the first baseman for no reason, another time I'm going to shoot him. And if I see Ernie Clement, cower away from a runner bearing down on him when he's trying to turn a double play, I'll just get out a Black & Decker and cut his legs off. I am tired of watching guys who just clearly don't belong in the big leagues playing in Cleveland in the big leagues. Yeah, Bronk. Your microphone.
My
there,
microphone
go.
was muted. Anyway,
Turn this thing on.
If you want to make baseball relevant, have relegation in it, and then create a quadruple A league, and then have a Premier League of 16 decent teams, and have 16 crap teams play each other in a league below.
They already
Yeah.
have that. That's called AAA and AA.
No, they don't. They don't have relegation. You don't have relegation where a AAA team can suddenly become a major league team.
One last thing,
Yeah.
and I got to
What do you
get
think the
going.
fucking Indians are?
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
I got to get going, but I wanted to mention one thing. And sometimes these little headlines come up and they immediately make me raise my eyebrows. The Cleveland Cavaliers hire Sidney Lowe as an assistant coach. And so there you have it. And if you are Bickerstaff, now you're hearing the footsteps on a double level. He will be joining JB Bickerstaff in Cleveland this season. But the fact is, Sidney Lowe, as an assistant coach, he has head coach experience in the NBA. All right. And here's the problem. If the Cavaliers continue to play uninspired like they have under Beeline and Bickerstaff, and Sidney Lowe will be the next African-American coach in the NBA to replace this current African-American coach in Cleveland. And, there's no way that JB Bickerstaff said, you know what I need? Get me Sidney Lowe. Get him in here as my assistant coach. You can paint it any way you want to, but they are already starting Bickerstaff's obituary in the offseason.
I could see Dan Gilbert hiring the first woman head coach in the NBA. I could see him doing that.
Well, the only woman who was making progress at the Cavaliers organization, she decided she wanted to go running back to something else, man, to women's basketball. She didn't want to have anything to do with that. It's a dysfunctional organization. They don't want to have anything to do with it.
The Bill Deck school of running a team. Is that what we're going with here?
I don't even know what it is. We'll have midgets at the plate by the time it's all done.
We already have midgets at guard, so what the hell?
Yeah, you have that too. And we had midges in the stadium.
Oh, they brought Muggsy Bogues out of retirement?
Yeah. So everybody, thanks a lot for tuning into this edition, because tomorrow is game day. So yes, we will be here around 8:30, I would say, somewhere around that area. But be looking on Twitter. I'll be keeping you up to date for the halftime show, and then a post-game show right after the conclusion of the game. So we're getting into form early this year, just so I want to familiarize myself with some of the guys that will make the team, so that when our regular players get hurt, I'm going to know more about these guys.
Not if, when. No. Come on,
enjoy the replay, Kate.
Gosh, Rocks, you should have come on the air. Not come on the air. I didn't mean that.
Air.
Oh, God. Oh, God. No. I mean, you should have appeared on the screen. All right? Jeez.
Marlene
everybody.
Desmond?
What?
Marlene Desmond? Oh, God. Oh, God.
Oh, and happy
God,
anniversary.
Animal House. Very good. You actually remembered Marlene's name. Oh, God. Oh, God. Way to go,
What's the
Boone.
white marshmallow of hope here? We need the white marshmallow.
Okay, we'll show him also at halftime in the post-game show. There he is, our new insignia of hope, the white marshmallow of hope, and he brings good and glad tidings with that. Look at that buoyant face. Look at him.
Stay
Ah,
He's a
his
sailor. He's a
optimism.
sailor. We can find him.
He's a sailor.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. I mean, young man. No, I don't even want to. Wait a minute. If I go to the. Why? Get up there. Why?
YMCA. Nice try there.
All right, guys. Thanks for helping me out on the show today. I'll see you tomorrow on the halftime and post game shows. Until then, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.